Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Hawk Blogger Mornings. I am Brian Nemhauser. You can find me all over the place on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, anywhere you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, at Hawk Blogger. And we're back for a victorious Monday morning edition as the Seahawks absolutely crush the Arizona Cardinals 44-22. Go to 7-2 on the season, tied for first place in the division, technically ahead on tiebreakers. And as we all know from last year, tiebreakers do matter. And first place in the NFC, at least as pending Monday Night Football tonight between the Eagles and the Packers. This is gonna be a week, folks. This might be a year. This might be a whole season. But this week, I'm going to give you everything I've got this week. I am so excited about this matchup between the Seahawks and the Rams. We will get into it. Normally that stuff's kind of saved for, transition a little tomorrow and tail the tape and first look on Wednesday. All that's going to happen. But there's no way I'm going to wait until Wednesday to start talking about this game between the Seahawks and the Rams. And I've got to tell you, I've already got some pretty good guests in store. Not only do we have Matt Hasselback coming on tomorrow, I'm in the process. I won't say it until it gets nailed down, but I'm in the process of getting a second guest tomorrow who we have not had on before, and I think will be great. You guys know him and love him from the work he's done. Wednesday, excited to announce that as part of First Look, Dave Hellman of the Athletic Football Show, first time will join here to talk about this matchup. We've talked to obviously Robert Mays and Derek Klassen. We have not yet talked to Dave, so I'm excited to have him on the show on Wednesday. Thursday, Brian Baldinger will join the show for the first time. So lots and lots of great stuff ahead, and we're just getting started. We are just getting started. I also have some really good news that for folks that have been trying to get tickets to the VIP Real Hawk Talk Live event in Nashville, we sold out in like 2 days. It was crazy. You guys are awesome. So we sold it out so fast, and the bar was like, whoa, we'll see if we can create some extra space. They're in the process of trying to create 15 more tickets to be available for this event. So I will let you know once those are available, and I will give you a chance to buy those tickets if you haven't. I know a lot of you have reached out to me like, hey, are there any tickets left? And I was like, no, there's not. Sorry. But we're going to try to create some more space for people that want to be there with us in Nashville Saturday night before the game. Wow. I mean, wow. What would it be like to go to Nashville 8-2 with a win over the Rams? I can dare to dream. We don't jinx our teams. I don't think we do. I get it. I mean, I'm superstitious. I'm not as superstitious as I used to be, but I'm still superstitious. But I don't think you jinx good teams. I think, you kind of release yourself to the experience, and you're like, okay, this is not about me. This is about an outstanding group of men on the field and men, like, not all men, but on the sidelines as well, who are playing the game at a super high level. And now it's a matter of who can match up with them. And the Washington Commanders cannot match up with them. The Houston Texans, honestly, could not match up with them. The Arizona Cardinals, not close, could not match up with them. The truth of this season so far has been the only team that has slowed down the Seahawks, the only team truly to slow down the Seahawks, is the Seahawks. Game 1 against the 49ers, Clint Kubiak overthought things, came out with a game plan that has not resembled anything else that they did all season long. Even game 2 against the Steelers, it was a tough first half because the Seahawks were shooting themselves in the foot. They made so many mistakes, and they still won that game by 14 points. the game against the Texans. That game should have looked like the Commanders game and the Cardinals game. But the Seahawks, messed around, made a lot of silly mistakes and silly coaching decisions. These were not things that were done to them. They were things that they were self-injury moments for the Seahawks. And yesterday, I mean, honestly, this game easily could have been 50-10, 50-7, something along those lines. The Seahawks screwed around, and honestly, all that they found out was that they still can win by 22 points when they do that. So I have found it somewhere between amusing and annoying that there are that there are people whose reaction to that game yesterday that I saw when I woke up this morning and started scrolling online was, well, Sam Darnold is turning the ball over at a higher rate than Geno Smith did last year. What? And takes that were happening during the game, like, Sam Darnold's turning the ball over a lot. This is a problem. I can't help but think that the only way that comes up in your brain is if you had a prior position about Sam Darnold and about the Seahawks and about Geno Smith that you can't let go of. And I realize that goes both ways. Hopefully you guys have all seen, like, as someone who's been kind of sitting on the sidelines of some of that, I root for Geno Smith. I root for Pete Carroll. Like, I without hesitation, I'm hoping that things turn around for those guys. I mean, I sat here before the season and said I believed multiple times that Geno Smith was a better quarterback than Sam Darnold. Based on everything I had seen up until that point, that's what I believed. I don't think I was alone in that. Certainly the NFL agreed with that. Tom Brady agreed with that. The NFL believed that Geno Smith was worth not only more money, but also a draft pick. Like, that's just the reality of where Sam Darnold was before this season. And there's folks that were like, no, Sam Darnold's better. I honestly think those takes are also not so great. I think there's people that are taking like victory laps about that, and that's fine. I mean, people should feel good about whatever they want to feel good about, but I don't think anybody that was like, Sam Darnold's clearly better than Geno Smith. I think there's as many priors going on there as well. And if Geno Smith was having a 4,500 yard season with 40 touchdowns, I think those people would be a little unhappy. I wouldn't. Like, anyway, I just bringing it back to the reaction to this game. Was it sloppy in the third quarter? Yeah. Would you like things to be tightened up? Of course. Would you rather have a team that hits all their details and has no turnovers, but is in a dogfight? Or would you rather a team that is demonstrating such dominance that they can turn the ball over 4 times against a Texans team, give up a strip sack touchdown, like, just absolutely crap the bed essentially, and still dominate the game, to have 3 turnovers against the Cardinals, to give up a touchdown drive of 4 yards and 19 yards and still win by 22 points. I mean, I talked about this in my morning after column that I wrote on hawkblogger.com, that these are first world problems, folks. These are first world problems. If, like, the Seahawks' biggest issue is that when they're ahead and they're backed up at their own end zone, that they don't make good play calls or execute well, like, there's better things to have an issue with. Or Sam Darnold has a problem throwing the ball off his teammates' helmets for interceptions. It's not great. I'd like that to stop. Also, not like a huge process problem where you're like, man, this guy is a turnover waiting to happen. In fact, you are going to hear a lot this week. You are going to hear a lot this week about how perfect Matthew Stafford is. And my God, he has been amazing this year. No doubt about it. But if I asked you, who has more turnover-worthy plays this season? Matt Stafford or Sam Darnold? I would bet you most people would say it's got to be Sam Darnold. Those people would be wrong. Matt Stafford has 8 turnover-worthy plays on the year. Sam Darnold has 6. Now, as a percentage of throws, attempts, they're pretty much the same. That's okay. But Sam Darnold is toward the bottom of the pack in terms of turnover-worthy play rate. He ranks 5th among all quarterbacks in the NFL with qualifying numbers of snaps in turnover-worthy play rate. Meanwhile, he leads the NFL in big-time throw rate. Oh, and in case you didn't know, he is number 1 in the NFL in a ton of categories. So how about we focus on the 43-yard dime he threw to JSN to put them up 7-0, the great drive that he then led the next time to put them up 21-0, and the fact that he helped manage a second half where they ran the ball like crazy, almost put up 200 yards, did put up 200 yards, and then lost it on kneel downs. I think all that matters just a lot more. Now, this is coming from somebody who is really on Sam Darnold's back for the Houston game, where he made the decision to drop back, hitch, then bail the pocket, and not hold on to the ball for that strip sack touchdown. I thought those were 3 inexcusable decisions near your own end zone. When I asked him about that the following week, he acknowledged that he needs to be more aware of where they are in the field and the situation and get rid of the ball quicker. He did that this week. It happened to go off somebody's helmet. Like, I'm not going to kill him for that. But I see, like, whereas last year we kept seeing the same mistakes happening over and over and over again in the same way with no adjustment or no seeming accountability for the decision-making process. This week or this year, we're seeing Sam Darnold try to adjust. We're seeing adjustments and growth from the coaching staff and from the team overall. So, yeah, this wasn't perfect, but man, I will take 44-22 over any opponent any day from the Seahawks. So, you know, it's as I said, first world problems luckily come also with first place, which is where the Seahawks find themselves this morning. First place in the NFC West, first place in the NFC. So not bad. And second overall in the NFL, second overall in point differential, and the largest point differential through 9 games in the history of the Seattle Seahawks. So pretty good. Pretty good. So I will warn you all, as I'm about to get into some other stuff from Mike Macdonald's time with Brock and Salk this morning. It is a vacation, a day off from school today. So I'm single parenting. I think I hear my son calling my name, so I might need to step away for a second before I come back. But if you haven't already liked and subscribed, please do. Would greatly appreciate it. Also, head on over to patreon.com/hawkblogger, sign up, get free audio, ad-free audio of this. Sorry. Sign up for patreon.com/hawkblogger, get ad-free audio of this show. Also get access to the Discord server and get verified over at hbtix.com, hbtix.com, the best place to get Seahawks tickets from Seahawks fans. In fact, I heard some folks that were wondering, they had some tickets to the game in Tennessee that they wanted to sell. And they were like, can we sell them on your thing? And they're like, yeah, I've got all the Seahawks games listed there, including the away games. So you have tickets to away games. You can also post those on hbtix.com. And I could tell you, because I get notified when there's people reaching out to other people about tickets all the time on there, and activity is picking up. Activity's picking up. People are pretty excited about this team ever since the Commanders game. Like we've got, like 5,000 people registered on that site already, which is wild, and literally have sold thousands of seats from Seahawks fans to Seahawks fans. So take advantage of hbtix.com. I take no fees for it. In fact, I pay money out of my own pocket to run this app that I built, just in the hopes that it helps keep the Seahawks fans, with the advantage that we like to own. I have to admit, I'm a little tempted. The dark side of me is tempted to play some of the Arizona Cardinals takes that were happening before this game and some slander that was out there, including from some people that have been guests on this show. But I'm going to pass. I'm going to pass on that. And part of it is like, it's just not that fun to dunk on the Cardinals. Like talk about a poverty franchise. They've lost more games than any other franchise in the history of the NFL. And it just feels like that, man. And as I told you about in Tail of the Tape and First Look and Real Hawk Talk, as much as I thought that the Cardinals deserved more respect than they were getting heading into this game, Jacoby Brissett, as a stationary quarterback who takes a lot to get rid of the ball, long time to get rid of the ball, felt like that alone was going to make this a really challenging matchup for the Cardinals. Honestly, that alone made this a blowout. Now, I think the Seahawks win this game by 10 plus points, even without the strip sacks returned for fumbles or returned for touchdowns. But the just lack of ability for Jacoby Brissett to handle the pass rush, that was what made this a mismatch, more than anything else. Some other things that there's some other things that got my attention and kind of reflecting on that game from yesterday. I will say Mike Macdonald on Brock and Salk today didn't love his update about Jalen Sundell. There's a long pause there. I think he's probably looking at Dave Pearson to see what he could say. Said that he'll say more this afternoon about that. So we'll keep an eye on the Jalen Sundell news. I will say Olu Oluwatimi played well, and that shouldn't be a surprise. This was not a situation where Olu Oluwatimi just blew it and Jalen Sundell won the starting job by default. Both of those guys had really strong training camps and off seasons, and Olu Oluwatimi had a back issue that sprung up, and Jalen Sundell got the snaps, took advantage of them, and didn't relinquish the job. He did great. Now, during the season, he's had some ups and some downs, but generally I think has been pretty good. Olu came in there and I thought played a really good game. I'm going to have to go back. I'm going to go back and watch it again and take a look at that. But he ended up with, from a PFF grading perspective, he had a 78.1 grade with a 73.9 pass block and an 82.5 run block. He had the best run blocking grade of anybody on the Seahawks yesterday. So turnabout's fair play. We may see Jalen Sundell down for some period of time, and Olu may play so well that Jalen Sundell doesn't get the job back. That's not a problem. In fact, I think one of the things that's amazing about that is think about where this offensive line was a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, where even figuring out 5 respectable starters that don't make you want to dry heave when you watch them play was a real problem. Now you get what might be your first meaningful injury along the line so far this year, and in steps somebody who is more than capable of playing good quality football. It's a huge, huge change. And I would not be the fun-loving person that I am if I didn't take the opportunity to bring up Anthony Bradford. Last time Anthony Bradford played against the Arizona Cardinals in week 4, he had a 0.0 pass block grade. It's hard to get worse than that. That was also the week that I have bad words to use. I won't use it for just to be cordial. This account on TikTok posted like the worst 4 reps or 5 reps that Anthony Bradford had, and they were really bad in that game. Forgetting the fact that he was playing injured, through an injury, had his own back issue, and was fighting through it. Forget the fact that he had plenty of other snaps throughout that whole game that were fine. But he had a 0.0 pass block grade. That's what it was. Fine. He has been a problem as a pass protector throughout his whole career, and that hasn't changed this season. Well, last week he had his best game as a pass blocker this season and earned a 79.2 grade for pass blocking. This week, going up against the team that he had a 0.0 grade, he had an 81.4 pass block grade. He had a 75.8 grade overall. And his pass block grade the last 2 games ranks 4th in the NFL among all guards. 4th. His run block grade ranks 13th. And so all I'm going to ask you is, if you are someone who has been trashing this guy, telling everybody around how terrible he was, how they need to upgrade, he's keeping them from being great. All I'm asking you to do is recognize when that's not true. Recognize the opposite. Recognize when he was one of the better offensive linemen on the field yesterday and the week before and across the NFL. He's 24 years old. And I think that this is good news. Even if I had told you that the whole year that he was awful and terrible, if he started playing like this, I hope you all know me now well enough to know I would tell you I'm thrilled. I never want a Seahawks player to prove me right about being bad. I will never, ever want that. And I give a lot of credit to Anthony Bradford for you. I guarantee you his friends and family have been seeing these things said about him, sharing it with him. He's probably aware. I haven't talked to him about it recently, but I respect it. I respect it a lot that he has stepped up and played better. And there was even another bad clip that came out yesterday. And even Bruce Irvin quote tweeted it and was harassing him. And people are just engagement farming off of his bad moments. And I think that's a shame. I think it's a shame. And so I encourage you to just maybe don't participate in that. And maybe root for a guy that's, I think, playing some of his better football right now. Similarly, not that far off, Tariq Woolen. After the first week of the season, a lot of Seahawks fans were like, get this guy off my team. As far into like 3 or 4 games into the season, they were like, get this guy off my team. I thought Tariq Woolen was fantastic yesterday. And I think he's been fantastic the last 2 games. I think he's playing his best football in 2 years. And I love that. I love that for him, and I love that for the Seahawks. I'm expecting Josh Jobe to get back this week. And finally, we'll be able to see the Seahawks, if they choose to, go to some dime defense with Jobe and Woolen and Witherspoon and Nicky Emmanwori all out in the field at the same time. But that's another example, and that we should all just kind of take a deep breath about. When you get to those moments where you're like, get this guy off my team, he has nothing to offer. If the guy has no talent and has shown no talent, if he's got no athletic ability or he's got low athletic ability, then yeah, it probably is going to show up that's not going to change a lot. But something that is similar about Anthony Bradford and about Tariq Woolen is they're actually both excellent athletes. You might not believe it by looking at Anthony Bradford and how big he is, but he was one of the highest tested athletes at the guard position when he came out a couple years ago. When you have 24-year-old great athletes at a position that often takes a few years to find your footing, you got to be careful about moving on too fast. And for all the people that are huge Damian Lewis fans, good example. The guy, no matter what anyone says, he was a mid guard here. He was not a dominant guard. He had a lot of down games. He had some good games. Now he's playing like one of the better guards in the NFL this year. Good for him. So you got to let offensive linemen develop, and you got to be careful about taking players that are like Tariq Woolen, who are literally once in a generation athletes. There's nobody else that can do what he can do at that size with that speed and that fluidity. You got to be careful about turning the page on those guys too quickly. So I think that it's great news that those guys are rounding into form. And then you're adding to it Nick Emmanwori, who looks like, my God, he looks like Nick Emmanwori. He does not look like anybody else. Don't give me the Cam Chancellor comparisons, the Kyle Hamilton comparisons, the Derwin James comparisons. I don't see those guys doing the combination of things that Nick Emmanwori is doing. The coverage he had along the right sideline, I think it was in the second half. I honestly can't remember when it was. I have to go back, and the whole game's a mashup in my mind, but it was startling. It was as good as any cornerback, boundary corner you're going to see. And that is stacking on top of us watching him run 40 yards downfield to cover Jalen Noel against Houston. You never are going to see another 220 plus pound person do what he did on that play. And then he gets his first sack. I think it was his first, like half a sack shared with Marcus Lawrence. He has 4 pass breakups on the day. So he has 9 tackles, leads the team. He has 4 pass breakups, and he has a half a sack. All by themselves, those are like, those aren't like crazy numbers. But to give you an idea the type of player that he is, there's never been another rookie in the history of the sport to do what he just did. 9 tackles or more, 4 pass breakups or more, that's the big one, and a half a sack or more in the same game. No rookie's ever done it. Only 2 other players in the history of the sport have done that in one game. And he's doing that as a 21-year-old rookie. And then this morning, Mike Macdonald was talking about him on Brock and Salk, and he was glowing about how smart he is, how hard he works, how he's now being asked to not only learn nickel and dime, which are the positions he's been trained for all offseason, but he's now being cross-trained on safety. And that's great news. It's important. The fact that he is not only this athletic, this talented, but also smart and hardworking. The sky might not be the limit. He might be out into, outer space. He might be beyond anything we've seen before at the position or on that side of the ball. And you have to have players like that make you start asking questions like that in order to be a true contender for everything. You have to have these outlier players. I think Nick Emmanwori looks like he is on his way to being one of those. Tariq Woolen, believe it or not, he is an outlier player. Now, is he the best corner in football? No. Is he close? Is he in the conversation from a man coverage perspective? He is. Believe it or not, he is. And then you've got other guys like Leonard Williams, go on down the line. You've got a lot of players who fit this kind of outlier category, either athletically, mentally, or both. And then the other thing that Mike Holmgren used to always say is to have a special year, you have to have your best players having their best seasons. And I mean, JSN certainly is doing that. Sam Darnold is doing that. And then a bunch of these guys on defense. I can't go any further without talking about Drake Thomas. And Griff, if you're listening, man, we'll try to get Griff and Rob on soon. But Griff and I mean, I love Griff to death, and I listen to his stuff. He and I see linebacker position differently. We just do. And it almost is comical that when Griff likes a guy, it's almost certain that it's going to be a guy I don't like. Which also makes it fun to stay close to him, because I like actually spending time with people that see players, the world, everything differently than I do. It keeps me from getting a little too myopic. But like Cody Barton, like I mean, I thought that guy was trash. I still think that guy's not good. I never did. Griff has always admired him, and I don't get it. And Griff has been, I think, one of the more critical people about Drake Thomas, about Nick Emmanwori. And I've been like, I still remember sending a message to a couple of my buddies last training camp when Drake Thomas came on the field for the first time. He'd been injured for all of preseason, all of training camp. He came on late, and I was like, looking at him and his build, and I'm like, he's got these Godzilla quads, and there's something about his athletic profile that is just really intriguing. And they're like, who are you talking about? Who is Drake Thomas? Why are you texting me about Drake Thomas? And admittedly, that looked a little foolish last year when, I mean, he played a little bit, but was not an impact player. This year, I don't think you're going to find a better example of a guy that has seized an opportunity. I mean, Josh Jobe might be an example last year. Kobe Bryant is probably an example. You can pick some other guys that Mike Macdonald's pretty proud to talk about. I love what Drake Thomas has been doing. And every single time I walk into the locker room, every time, Drake Thomas is sitting there either at his locker or on one of the recliners with the tablet in his hands, looking at film. And you'd think everybody's doing that, but they're not. And it doesn't mean other people are less prepared or whatever, but this guy is all about being ready for his opportunity. And he's a small guy by linebacker standards, for sure. But he's playing big. He is delivering big hits. He is delivering big sacks. He's got 3 sacks. The fact is, he's only started really 4 full games all year. 4. He leads the NFL among inside linebackers in tackles for loss. He is second in passes defensed. He has a tackle for loss in 6 straight games. That's impressive. That's really impressive. And I think it's also really cool that Tyrice Knight, who lost his job to Drake Thomas, comes in, gets his first chance to play middle linebacker instead of weak side linebacker, and looks like a Pro Bowler. Like, he has been unbelievably impactful in his 2 games since getting back on the field. Led the team in tackles last week, got a game ball, had 2 sacks, 2 strip sacks, a team that had 0 fumbles recovered on defense all year. Tyrice Knight caused 2 of them in 1 half. You got another game ball this week. So we'll find out what's going to happen with Ernest Jones. Mike Macdonald was cautious with his words this week on Brock and Salk. He said, hopeful is a good word for whether or not Ernest can play this week. I think Ernest will do everything he can to be ready. My best bet is Ernest Jones won't play this week. I think it could be 2 weeks, depending. Like, I don't think they certainly will rush him back to play Tennessee. He might want to play Tennessee. You might forget he was traded from both the Rams and the Titans. But This is a situation where you're like, the worst case scenario was Ernest Jones being out. He's a linchpin to that defense. And then you see Tyrice Knight and Drake Thomas out there, and like, well, I mean, it didn't look like a disaster. It didn't look like a disaster. Now, Sean McVay is a linebacker's nightmare, and he will find every way to kind of pick on whether it's Ty Okada or Drake Thomas or Tyrice Knight or whoever he thinks he can pick on. He will find ways to do that. But I don't think you can go into that game as a Seahawks fan and be like, oh man, we're screwed. We got Tyrice Knight and Drake Thomas. We're screwed. I don't think you can feel that way. These guys have played too well. Similarly with Ty Okada, who is going to play in this game because Julian Love's on IR and he's not coming back for another couple weeks. Ty Okada, the hit he had yesterday, probably one of the least talked about plays in a game that had so many plays worth talking about. He just unloaded on Elijah Higgins, their tight end, and dislodged the football. That was a remarkable hit. It is it is what he can do when he actually hits the opposing teams as opposed to his own players. There's a reason Josh Jobe couldn't come back from a hit from Ty Okada for a full week. Give him credit. So the guy brings the wood, and it is something that happens during seasons like this where you've had those moments, haven't you, where you look at other teams and they lose somebody, and then somebody comes in and they're playing great football, and then they lose that person and somebody else comes in and they play great football, and you're like, why can't we get one guy to play good football at that position, let alone have everyone that comes in look like a Pro Bowler? Well, that's the Seahawks this year so far. Like, name a player or a position where the Seahawks have lost somebody and have then dropped into awful, below replacement level player taking their spot. I mean, even Nehemiah Pritchett, who I've been very hard on, that pass breakup he had in the end zone yesterday was one of the highlights of the week in the NFL. That was an unbelievable play he made. He ended up with the second highest PFF grade of anyone on the Seahawks defense yesterday. I'm not immune to being wrong. I'm wrong all the friggin' time. I love it. I love it. I love that Nehemiah Pritchett played a good game yesterday. That's only good news. Because if the Seahawks can get away with the Drake Thomases and the Tyrice Knights and the Ty Okadas and the Nehemiah Pritchetts and the Olu Oluwatimis and the Brady Russells, and the Eric Callerups, then what are they going to be like when they get the Julian Love back, when they get Jobe back, when they get Ernest Jones, when they get Jaron Reed, when they get Eric Saubert, when they get back to full health? I mean, they played without Torrey Horton, and they played without a bunch of guys yesterday. But you don't really think about it because they just decimated their opponent. So a lot of people, and I can't help it, I will always kind of go back to different points in Seahawks history that remind me of what's going on, because it's just contextual. But people think about the Seahawks 2013 season as this just never-ending fest of goodness. They had injuries at both right and left tackle along the line. Max Unger was in and out of the lineup. Alvin Bailey was getting snaps. They were playing Paul McQuiston at tackle sometimes. They had injuries on the defensive side of the ball. People were in and out. And then it all came together toward the end of the season, going into the playoffs, and they peaked. Like, they played their best football as the season ended, not really in the regular season, but into the playoffs. They had their core guys there, and they went on and they won the Super Bowl. And it's kind of like that meme or that video or that thing people do, like women. I don't know if you ever saw this on TikTok or other places, where they used to pretend that they were kind of like tripping and like clumsy, and then they would snap into a model walk and just like strut down the whatever they're doing, right? That's kind of it. Although the Seahawks aren't really stumbling. They're they're looking like they belong on a runway right now. But it might be the difference between, I can't continue the model analogy and do it any justice because I don't know anything about modeling, but they might have a higher, maybe a better cover that they can shoot. Let's say that as the year goes on. All right, there's a bunch of super chats, so let me get to some of these. Before I get there, if you haven't already gone to SimplySeattle.com and use code HawkBlogger15, why not? Go ahead and do it. You will not regret it. I've got all my favorite Seahawks stuff there. Mariners, Huskies, Kraken, whatever your thing is that you love from Seattle sports. Go ahead, get someone from the Sonics. Honor Lenny Wilkins, who passed away yesterday, the great Lenny Wilkins. Use code HawkBlogger15, get you 15% off. I mean, this is the place to get your next favorite Seahawks piece of paraphernalia and get something for this generation of Seahawks. Like, it's time to celebrate this team. Do it at SimplySeattle.com. Also, jkboots.com/hawkblogger. Enter that whole thing, jkboots.com/hawkblogger into your browser. That will get you your own special promo code that will allow you to get the best deal on the best boots you will ever own. Built, made in Spokane, Washington, family-owned company. Honestly, just like my favorite shoes that I put on my feet. They're cool, they're tough, they're durable, and they will last a lifetime. So jkboots.com/hawkblogger. And obviously make sure you download the Sleeper app if you haven't already. Sleeper app is a great place to get all your fantasy football stats, get the latest NBA news, whatever it is that you follow, you can get on the Sleeper app. And for a limited time, you get $20 even without making a deposit. And you get up to $100 match on your first deposit if you use promo code HAWKS. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. All right. So back to Super Chats. Let's do it. Dad's always doing something has become a member. Well, welcome to the party. Always good to have a dad who's always doing something. Ryan B has also become a member here on YouTube. This is great. Love expanding the family here. If you are a club level or higher YouTube member, you also get access to the Discord server where all the patrons from patreon.com/hawkblogger are hanging out. There's hundreds of people over there talking about all things Seahawks and sports and other stuff all the time. So be a club level or higher member. You will not regret that. I see Hawks. How good is it to not get tortured by Mike Macdonald's defense, but to do the torturing with it? Go Hawks. That's a great point. I love that point. So we've been on the other end, right? We've seen 2 years ago what it's like to try to go against a Mike Macdonald defense that's really talented and really well coached, and it was not fun. It was humiliating. And I go into every week now feeling pretty good. Like, there is zero question in my mind that Mike Macdonald is as prepared for Sean McVay as any coach in football. Does not mean he's going to go in there and beat him by 20 points. It does not mean that everything's going to go perfectly. But this is a division that's got a lot of young, smart coaches. And you might find that some of the smartest coaches, I'm talking IQ, they might be in this division. Smartest coaches in the entire sport. And watching them play chess against each other for the next however many years, like, sign me up. And I think the Seahawks are in as good a position to take it to the Rams as any team the Seahawks have had recently. And I'll go into some of the details about why over the course of this week, but I'll say this. So this is the people will eventually get to this being the story. I'm going to tell you it's the story right now of this matchup. Now, I have a lot of homework to do. I might find other things. The Rams have discovered 13 personnel. They did it when Puka Nacua got hurt. And so they started playing their 3 tight ends. And Colby Parkinson, what's the name? Tyler Bigby. I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. It doesn't really matter. Their other starting tight end that's been with them forever. I'm going to look it up real quick because it's going to annoy me. Tyler Higbee, sorry. And Terrence Ferguson, the rookie. And they've been popping off. They've been like unstoppable since they've gone to 13 personnel, even with Puka Nacua now back. Well, they're going to go super heavy. 3 tight ends is very heavy. The Seahawks are a team that likes to play light box. They don't bring heavy personnel. They're also a team that would like to start playing some dime with Nick and Devin Witherspoon and Reek and Josh Jobe. That's going to be a fascinating matchup of who blinks first and how do they handle it. Okay. Heavy personnel from the Rams going against light boxes from the Seahawks defense. That's one side of it. The other side of it is a similar interesting piece. The Seahawks have made their offense hum with 21 personnel, 12 personnel, and they even started doing more tackle eligible yesterday where Josh Jones, the extra offensive lineman, came in. So they live quite a bit in heavy personnel. They play 3 receivers less than any other team in football. Also worth noting, as an aside, yesterday was the first time I saw them run 4 receiver sets. There was a couple snaps where they had 4 receivers in the game. So that's new, but we'll keep an eye on that. Anyway, so the Seahawks are living in heavy. The Rams play dime defense at the highest level, highest percentage of any defense in the sport. So you've got a heavy Seahawks personnel going against a light box and dime defense in the Rams. How is that going to work? How are they going to blink? And those are 2 like primary storylines in this game. I think there's other stuff that's already got my attention. Jared Verse is a guy that they are moving all around the line. They're putting him inside, often on rundowns. Would not surprise me if they try to put Jared Verse over the top of Anthony Bradford and try to get as many low lights as they can out of that matchup. So, yeah, it's going to be fascinating. But don't bet against big-brained Mike Macdonald. Don't do it. Not wise. All right. Next, Super Chats. Mark says, who do you feel is the most improved player since game 1? I asked in chat and got some great answers. Love your podcast. You're like John Clayton, the Professor 2.0. That is a heady comparison for Hall of Fame reporter and John Clayton, who set a standard. So that's very, very nice of you. Thank you for saying that. But who's the most improved player since game 1? Ty Okada? Ty Okada was unplayable in game 1. And I think that was partially because he was asked to come in for Nick Emmanwori and play kind of a big nickel role, which he just is not suited for, and it was bad. That's the one that jumps out to me. I could point to others as well. Tariq Woolen's on that list. Drake Thomas is on that list. Tyrice Knight's on that list. But Ty Okada is the one that jumps out to me. Thanks for your super chat. All right. Otavio Augusto Soares says, it's an awesome feeling to expect a stop on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 again. These used to be automatic first downs the past few years, and we're just getting started. I mean, I can't say it's an again feeling for me. I don't know. I've seen a Seahawks defense where 3rd and 1 felt like advantage Seattle. Like, honestly, on either side of the ball. But the Seahawks are converting 3rd and short. Let's get the latest. let's get the, I know you're talking about defense, but let me get the latest on this because I think the Seahawks are either at or at the top of third and short conversions on offense, not just on stopping on a defense. So let's do this together. Let's do this. You guys will be patient with me for a second while I look this up. So we're going to look up teams this year, and we're going to look up third down. We'll do third or fourth down, and we're going to say 1 yard to go, okay? Where there's no more than 1 yard to go. How do the Seahawks do in that situation on offense? The Seahawks convert at the fourth highest rate in the NFL on third or fourth and 1, 83.3%. That's nice. Defensively, the Seahawks are fifth in first downs allowed on third or fourth and short, allowing 57.1% to convert. And the funny thing is, I would love to see how many of those resulted in negative yards. Let's see if I can figure that out. So the Seahawks, okay. Seahawks, well, this is saying, wait a second. Let me double check something here. Yeah, no, at least based on what I was saying, the Seahawks have had plays where they've gotten tackles for loss. I'm not seeing those listed, but in any event, yes, the Seahawks are generally moving people backwards on short yardage, not even worrying about giving up the first down. So I thought Uchenna Nwosu had another fantastic game yesterday. He had one of those tackles on a play like that. Spencer Nakin says, should Helani get serious consideration for running back too? I don't think so. I thought Zach Charbonnet played his best game of the season yesterday, and he tortures that Cardinals team. If we could have Zach Charbonnet, the Cardinals version, against everybody, my goodness. This was the first game since the 2012 game against the Cardinals where the Seahawks won 58-0 that the Seahawks had 3 running backs run for 30 yards or more and average over 4.4 yards per carry. Everyone played well. And I think that's just evidence that when the run blocking is decent, these guys are plenty good. So I don't think it's a matter of they got to change backs, but I do think George Helani is a guy that shouldn't be worried about whether he's out there or not. I mean, he is a very capable back in his own right. Alex Bliss says, when's Mina coming on? Yeah, I don't know. Mina's very busy. We've had her on plenty of times in the past for like a decade. I don't know if we're going to find a chance to have her on. I'll reach out. She's had a rough go of it lately, but I'll see if we can make something happen. OEL says, hello, Brian. Maybe I'm just nitpicking here, but what is your opinion of Darnold's explanation for the turnovers? It's basically, that's football. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I feel like people are just making way too much of this. I think that when you have a new center, you're going to have fumbled exchanges. It does happen pretty regularly. It's not surprising. And I don't know why that would be more on the quarterback than on the center. Having a ball hit the helmet and bounce up in the air, it's not ideal, but I don't think that was like, oh, Sam Darnold made a bad choice. He shouldn't throw the ball into his own player's helmet. Like, really? You think that was the intent? And then, yes, the last one I think is mostly it's more on Sam. I would also say that was the one pressure that the offensive line surrendered, and they got there. It would have been better if Sam could have gotten rid of the ball more quickly. Do I think that Sam Darnold has some issues still to work out in terms of avoiding turnovers? Yeah, I do. But I'll share with you guys what I shared with one of my other group chats today, where it was just looking at where Sam Darnold ranks. Let me see if I've got this up somewhere. I can just easily share it with you guys. Yeah, here we go. So here's a look at where Sam Darnold ranks in the NFL. Share this tab. And let me bring this up for you guys. Come on. I've got so many tabs open. I'm like, it's crazy. This is at runningbackstilldontmatter.com, RBDSSDM. This is looking at Sam Darnold versus every other quarterback in the NFL. Do you notice where his green dot is? Do you know how many people are just glazing Drake May as like the MVP? Matt Stafford as the MVP. Daniel Jones. Well, look at Sam Darnold, just far and away the most efficient passer in football this year. And that's with, by the way, the turnovers matter. They count against these numbers. So you can imagine if he manages to really take care of the turnovers even more, it's going to be crazy. And adjusted EPA per play, that takes away some like dropped passes and throwaways and stuff like that. Number 1 in football. EPA per play, 2nd in football, and just barely in number 2. Success rate, number 1 in football. Completion percentage over expected, number 1 in football. So what are we doing here, folks? Can we just keep some perspective and not turn into a fan base that can't enjoy the best Seahawks season in 12 years? Like, I mean, you can fan however you want to fan. You can choose to spend this time being anxious and worried about what could go wrong, or appreciate all that's going right and just keep focusing there. It's not like we can't talk about the problems. It just feels a little weird, the amount of focus the problems are getting after a 44-22 win that you were ahead 38-7 at halftime. Like, that just doesn't do it to me. All right. So David Galt, who's been a member for 15 months, says, this year, every game day is feeling like Christmas morning when I was 8. I'm waking up at 6 a.m. on Sunday mornings. This season is sheer joy. That's what I'm talking about, David. I'm glad you are getting the most out of this season. That is the way to not waste it, because they are fleeting. It does not happen as often as any of us want. So enjoy it. Enjoy it. Find your joy during seasons like this. Josh Schmidt says, how can I get in touch with you for custom golf equipment? In the middle of designing custom putter, personalized drivers, and Brian Seahawks collab for no charge to you would be a pretty cool first feedback. Yeah. Well, my email address is in all my stuff. I've got my link tree in all my social media, but brian@hawkblogger.com is the email address. So feel free. That'd be fun. Always looking fun to play with new golf equipment. Aziz Rashid says, Azaz, I think it's Azaz Rashid. Sorry if I mispronounced that. Brian, I know you have been high on Anthony Bradford, but did you see what Nolan did to him on Holani's TD? I did. Guys, assume that everything you've seen, I've probably seen, not because I'm some high and mighty person, but because, especially if it's related to Anthony Bradford, people are going to make sure I see it. It doesn't change anything for me. It changes nothing for me. What I'll just say is, I have been very consistent in that pass protection is a problem for Anthony Bradford. It always has been. It's his biggest weakness. He's also one of the better run blocking guards the Seahawks have available to them. Unlike Olu Oluwatimi, who was in the starting role and then lost it due to injury as opposed to performance, Christian Haynes was in the starting role and he lost it because of performance. Anthony Bradford is your best right guard. He is. People can hate it as much as they want. It's the truth. The other thing I've been truthful about is, my God, the amount of people, like some people that are, I don't know, respected analysts of Seahawks football were pounding the table for Cesar Ruiz of the Saints. When I was preparing for the Saints game, whatever that was, week 3, and I was watching and listening to Saints coverage and also watching Saints film, there's a video about Cesar Ruiz is the worst offensive lineman in football. If you go into Dolphins YouTube, Jonah Savanaia, I can't remember. I haven't pronounced his name for too long and I've forgotten it. They'll say he's the worst offensive lineman. You go and talk to the Commanders. Josh Connolly Jr. is the worst offensive lineman in football. You talk to the Steelers. They'll tell you that Braxton Jones is the worst offensive lineman in football. Like, you go from team to team to team. There is an offensive lineman that somebody thinks is the worst in football. And that's because the level of offensive line play is not good across the NFL. It has decayed massively over the last 2 decades, last 15 years especially. And so in those situations, you got to be patient. You got to see, is there something worth holding on to here? Now, I think if the Seahawks could have upgraded that position at the trade deadline, I think they would have tried. I bet they did try. I also think that they are aware of what's going on with Anthony Bradford. They're working on it. And I also think he was not fully healthy to begin the year. So he had a back problem that came up before the first game of the season. It came back up before the Cardinals game. I think he's been dealing with that for a lot of the year. So he's going to have more clips like that. I guarantee it. He is also potentially going to have more clips like the ones he had yesterday. I almost guarantee you nobody is posting clips of him making the block to key the Kenneth Walker explosive run or the block that keyed the Zach Charbonnet explosive run. I think I'm the only one that's willing to put my name and associate it positively with Anthony Bradford, because everyone else is like, yeah, it's way more fun just shitting on this guy and sharing all his terrible clips and making him look like an imbecile. That's not gonna be me. That's not how I'm gonna handle it, and I don't think he deserves that. So, yeah, that's my take. Aaron Bren has become a member. Welcome, Aaron. Good to have you as part of the crew. TK Bear says, I feel like Cooper Kupp will offer up a lot of intel on Stafford's tendencies. Matt is due for a bad game, and I think it could happen here. Yeah, I'm going to watch the 49ers Rams game today to kind of catch up on what happened there. Weird game statistically in some ways in terms of where pressure, like in terms of sacks and pressures, but I'm going to watch that game and get a feel for it. I don't think this is a situation, like maybe I'll change my tune as I get deeper into it. I don't think this is a situation where it's like, everyone's too high on the Rams and they're too high on Matt Stafford. The Seahawks are way better. I don't think that's how this is going to look. I think it's going to be 2 really good teams with very few weaknesses, if any, playing at a high level with 2 good coaching staffs. And it's just going to be a battle. And I don't know who's going to win yet. I think I have a feeling for who's going to win, but that's how it felt like when the Seahawks used to play the Harbaugh 49ers. I was like, the Seahawks are friggin' amazing. This is a great team. Even after they beat them 42-13, and then the next year, 2013, they smashed them early in that season. I still, when it came down to the playoffs and the NFC Championship, I didn't feel comfortable in that matchup at all. And the Seahawks were down a lot of that game. They almost lost that game. So I don't think this has to turn into a situation where, they're overrated or the Seahawks are underrated or anything like that. I just think it's 2 great football teams. Yeah, I can't wait to dig into it more. Icy Hawk says, we might play the Super Bowl in Levi Stadium. I know. Yeah, don't think I don't know. I mean, it was great when Sherm and Russell were eating turkey legs on the 49ers field after the Thanksgiving win. Hosting a Lombardi on their field, that's forever. That would be great. But, can't get too far ahead of ourselves. Brent says, Brian, you're so consistent with information. You kind of let me down with your lack of modeling knowledge. I was invested in the comparison. Yeah, I just felt like there was a lot of bad places I could go that wouldn't end up reflecting well on me or anyone involved in that. So I just decided to bail. It was a pull the ripcord kind of situation. OEL says, next week is a measuring stick for the Hawks and Darnold. Rooting for Darnold and the Hawks to get it done. Also, is the running game back? So the measuring stick thing kind of gets in my mind a bit. Like, I think the Seahawks are past measuring stick games. I really do. I think the Rams are past measuring stick games. And what I mean by that is the Seahawks could lose this game by 2 touchdowns this weekend. I don't think they are, but let's say that they do. I don't think that would indicate that the Seahawks are bad or couldn't beat the Rams the next time they played. It just doesn't, I don't buy that. I think that similarly, the Seahawks could win this game. Let's say they do something crazy like the 42-13 win over the 49ers a few years ago, or 2012. Let's say they blow out the Rams. Wow, that would be amazing. That'd be a lot of fun. Does that mean that I would breathe easy the next time they play the Rams? No way. No way. And I see we got Big Mike in the chat who's here a lot. It says, disagree, Brian. Hawks haven't beaten an upper echelon team like this. Okay. Sure. I can like poke at that a little bit. I'm not even going to. But I don't think that means that they're not worthy. I can look at the Eagles, the Bucks, the Chiefs, the Bills. The Bills got blown out by the freaking Dolphins yesterday. Like, you can go around the league. The Rams lost to a massively depleted 49ers team. Like, they barely beat a Ravens team that had nobody playing for them. Like, what are we talking about here? So I think the Seahawks, the level of play that they are demonstrating is the best in football. And if they lose this game, I don't think that means that they have no hope of being the best team in football. I think it would be a setback. And this is not a pre-cope mechanism. I'm not predicting a loss. I'm not hoping for a loss, nothing like that. I just am telling you, people can put as much on this game as they want, and it's going to make it fun. But the season's not riding on this game because the Seahawks have done enough to basically create a brand of football and a level of play that, honestly, I'm convinced can hold up against just about anybody. All right. I think I saw there was another super chat that came in while I was ranting. All right. Dad's always feeling something says, how did you feel about how we utilize Shaheed? Before I get to that, I forgot about the last part of OEL's thing. Is the running game back? I don't know. I mean, I did get a little bit of a laugh. I can't remember who made the comment on one of the videos. They were like, oh, the Seahawks need to prove they can run for over 175 yards in a game. And I'm like, that's a very high bar. That's a lot of rushing yards. And then they rush for like 200 yards. It was the best, most encouraging rushing performance of the season. If you've been with me, even when I went on with Stacy and Bump last week, I said it there as well. I have seen positive signs from the running game the last couple of weeks. I put out after the Houston game, there were some positive signs in that game. I think that they're starting to hit their stride. The Rams are a fantastic defense. Would it shock me if they are not as good again, like running the ball against that team? No. But I'll tell you what, I'm excited to see, because if the Seahawks can run against that Rams team, that is the number one key to winning that game. Now, I might change my tune as I get closer and into the details. But the way the Rams play right now is they do everything they can on first down to keep you from getting more than 3 yards on first down. They want to get you into second and long so that they can go into their dime defense and start dialing up all these like pressure packages. If you can gain 4 yards plus on first down, then the Rams are going to hesitate about being in dime, which is what they want as much, and you're going to be dictating a little bit more to them. We saw a lot more in this game, the Seahawks able to have successful early down runs, and that was great. That was great. And to run when the opponent knew you were going to run and to basically run it every single play and gain chunk yardage, all of that was great. So, yeah, I feel like that's great. So let's get back to the super chat from Dad's Always Doing Something. Says, how did you feel about how we utilized Shaheed? It was kind of funny, to be honest. I mean, I certainly didn't expect him to get more rushing yards than receiving yards in his first game. I definitely didn't expect him to line up at running back and take a handoff. I can imagine them lining him up at running back and running a route. They put JSN in the backfield and they've run routes before, but this was kind of funny. And teams are going to have to like honor it now because he took the ball and he ran relatively well. So it makes me think Clint Kubiak's got a lot of pretty clear ideas for how he wants to use him. And we will see how that translates to week 2. Part of the benefit of winning the way that the Seahawks did is they did not have to show much in this game. I think the second half, they went as vanilla as possible for most of that game and for most of that half. And the Rams don't have much to go on for how Rashid Shaheed's going to fit into it. And Torrey Horton didn't play in this game. I would hope that Torrey Horton can play this week. Maybe he doesn't. But you add Torrey Horton to that mix. Cooper Kupp had a nice game. JSN is JSN. You know, there's a lot. There's a lot to prepare for when you face this Seahawks team. And I love it. I definitely love it. All right, another super chat here. This comes from Wyatt West. Faced 2 teams that needed wins and rolled them both. Exactly. The Commanders' season was on the line. The Cardinals thought they were about to turn their season around, and the Seahawks just sunned both of them. Like, go back to your room. No dinner, no dessert. Like, it was rough. So yeah, it's a sign of a really, really good team. Vio says D-line is going to eat Sunday, least athletic QB that they face. I love this call out from you because while I don't think it's the same as Jacoby Brissett because Matthew Stafford gets rid of the ball much more quickly. He's a much better processor, just a better quarterback in general. He is someone who is going to be in the pocket. And the Seahawks are a team that love to run twists and stunts. They get a little bit more cautious about those when they're facing a mobile quarterback because that opens up running lanes for the quarterback. Well, you don't have to really worry about that with Stafford. So it's like the way that they could just pin their ears back against Jacoby Brissett and go after him. The 49ers cannot create pressure with a 4-man rush because everybody's hurt. So they blitzed a lot yesterday, and Stafford tore him to shreds. Seahawks are one of the lowest blitz rate teams in the NFL. They can create pressure with 4 people. I like that part of this matchup. And one of the biggest weaknesses for the Rams this year, team that doesn't really have many, is their pass protection. Their offensive line has not held up well in pass protection. So I do think that that's a place where the Seahawks have an advantage going in. OEL says, Stephen Hashka's record for most field goals made in Seattle franchise history is broken by Jason Myers. Your thoughts? Good for Jason. Good for Jason Myers. Happy that he was able to break the record. Glad that he made all his extra points and his field goals. That was cool. So good stuff there. Let's hope he continues to be, on the more reliable side this season. That would be great. All right, everybody. I have got to go. I got to go hang out with my kid and, do some studying. Make sure you click like and subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure that you click the bell to get notified when we go live, because like I said, tomorrow, Matt Hasselbeck, I'm waiting to get final word. Let me see if I got final word yet. Haven't got final word on my second guest for tomorrow, but we'll have Matt Hasselbeck for sure. Then we're going to have Dave Hellman from the Athletic Football Show on Wednesday morning. Then we're going to have Brian Baldy, on Thursday. We'll have Sando and Bowling on Friday. We'll have Real Hawk Talk this week, all the good stuff. So tons and tons and tons of stuff coming up for all of us. And I'm going to be obsessed about this matchup. I'm going to go super deep, and you guys are welcome to dive in with me. I'll take you along for the ride, and we'll see where we come out. But it's going to be fun. Let's enjoy the week. Have a great rest of your Monday. And also salute to service. Everyone that served on, Veterans Day, everyone that served this country. I am super grateful for all you've sacrificed and that your families have sacrificed, so that we get to talk about things as frivolous as football. That's what one of the reasons I'm still proud of this country, even when things are not always the way you hope they would go. All right. Take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your Monday.